Good morning, sisters and brothers. I sat here contemplating the things that I wanted to say to you all morning as I was preparing. Wonderful thoughts constantly crossed my mind. I didn't take the initiative to make any notes on them. They were just firing through me. And I couldn't wait to get here. And getting here, I think about you, and I think about the message, and I think about the thoughts that I've had. And you know what? I can barely think of a one. And so I know I'm here for a major reason, and that reason is to share with you how essential it is that you understand what's really going on in this world. And that being my purpose and my reservoir of information should allow me to be able to deal with any situation, even this. And so I seize this moment to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world today, we as a people have come into a world that was already established before we got here. And whatever that world was, is today. And it is all because that's what we call normal. And we've tried to make progressions as time passed to either take us one way or the other. We usually call that left or right. But at the end of the day, we find ourselves really in the situation that we've always said we were running from, but only find ourselves running to. And as a situation that we've all got the chance to experience throughout the past 10 years, but more specifically the past 5 years. Situations that were so enormous that they expanded beyond the borders of the continental United States. And in fact, it was made known all across the globe, where people had access to get a chance to see what truly happens when people are in control of power. What truly happens when you can see the negligence that have been imposed upon people. You know the walk of life. I don't have to recite them all over again to you. You know what they are. And yet there are those of you who understand that the systems that you've come up under have allowed you to progress the way you have, and you really owe no apology for it. And for anyone who comes to you talking about something that's different from that must be out of their mind, especially when you've done all you can, the best you can, to be able to put yourself in a position of life that guarantees that you will not have to suffer again, especially with the system that is constituted under these capitalistic ways. Now, I understand. That's part of what the training has been. And yet, I come to you and say to you that even at that, the pain and suffering that exists because of that, whether you know it or not, it still exists. And whether you have compassion or to care or not, it still exists. The point of fact is that there's a way to eliminate it all. And for that purpose, for those who are more or less not just whole cold-hearted like that, who would accept another way, the message comes to them. And the message says plainly that if we understand that there is always going to be a situation when it comes down to men, whether they are of the right, whether they are of the left, whether they are black, whether they are white, whether they are conservative, whether they are liberal, whether they are in the center, it doesn't make any difference. The fact of the matter is, these are ideas of men, and ideas of men are always going to be prejudicial. And the only way you can avoid that is by exercising the power of only the true power. And that's the power that we have a God that manifests to be invisible. Can't touch it, feel it. And yet we, each of us, have the ability to allow that Spirit of God to live within us. See, we have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that we're just parts of earth, walking around on a God's earth that has been given to us by a God that had prepared for that earth to do in all things that we can imagine to do. Right here. And in us is the breath of God that allows us to stand up, that allows me to speak to you, that allows you to do the things that you do, whether they are good or bad. Yet it exists by the power of God. And in this, we have this choice to make, whether we want to go in a way that brings us peace and prosperity and freedom and joy, or whether we want to continue the way we've been going. And the truth of the matter is, I propose to you that we stop going the way we're going. I want to say, though, ladies and gentlemen, we do not have the luxury of pointing a finger at any group in the society. If we're going to give someone a lenient approach, it would have to be those that have suffered the most. But beyond that, I say the one that suffered the most, because it don't matter what we've done. They can always look at any and all of us and say guilty. Guilty, because none came to the rescue. And so, to that degree, guilty. But beyond that, we are all truly guilty. So we can't say that our religion misled us. No, it doesn't matter. Everything misled us, because we cannot and have not gone that extra way. And that extra way is to do it for everybody. Everybody. What does that mean? To make sure that we get a chance to exercise our gifts, and by doing that, makes us a participator, a part of the creation, making that which is created owned by us all. And that which we own, we no longer need the enemy. We don't need the thief to run the show. We don't need anyone to run the show except the power of love that treats us fair, that allows for us to have our needs, our wants, our dreams, and our desires met. And so I take these few moments, ladies and gentlemen, just to share with you, to say that today you have seen that the people of America would do anything. Anything. They will lie, they will cheat, they will steal, they will overthrow the government, they'll buy guns and weapons and threaten to start a war. They will do anything. You know it. They have been promising it all your lifetime. They've been promising it. And you see where they're going. So there's no need to try to just hang around what you call normal, or try to stop that from going, think we're doing something. I mean, we appreciate that, but that just is not good enough. We got to go all the way. We got to give God the glory. And when God gets the glory, that means nobody's suffering, because we're going to take care of business. I've talked to you long enough, and I think I'll just cut it short, because I know I'll probably be back some more today when I get some more stuff to talk about. Until then, Eddie Marcus saying goodbye.